the question of what we're doing here, what kind of a system you have on, and the purpose of that system. And that's what I'm going to attempt to explain to you. Tiskilwa is an experimental situation for the EPA. For the purposes of bringing into compliance many different water companies or groups or districts, small water districts that aren't large enough for municipality control and chemical feeding and all of that stuff and monitoring. This is an experiment that you're part of. And the experiment is being handled right now in many different parts of the country with different methods. Your particular situation, we went after bacteria contamination, which is the main thing, the main question. And then we brought it to the Giardia lamblia, the question of Giardia lamblia, because of it being a reservoir and the possibility of Giardia lamblia, which comes from animals. So what we have on the line is a double filter bank. We have a spun, wound filter cartridge. And that's followed by a activated charcoal, which is an absorption medium. That particular, it is primitive. We will look at it in a couple of minutes to see what it really looks like. It's primitive, but it does a job. It's inexpensive. It's something that is homeowner easy. You know, the homeowner can work it and deal with it. Following that is an ultraviolet purifier. That ultraviolet purifier is one that is manually cleanable. And so every homeowner here at Tiskilwa will be responsible for the servicing of it. The weekly or monthly servicing that's going to be necessary to keep things up to snuff. At the counter or under the counter, we put in a single cartridge, what do we put in, ceramic. And that was for the purpose of eliminating Giardia lamblia.
Right.
And
that's like a 2-micron filter, right?
That is a half-micron filter.
Half-micron. Giardia is like 5 to 7 micron organism, right?
But maybe not. We find it to be down to 1. We try to think of Giardia down to 1 micron. However, in the study of bacteria and the likes, they have the ability to change form when they're trying to get from one screen to another. And so we take that account and we say, okay, then let's not go for 1 micron because they're only 1 micron. Let's go to half micron because they're 1 micron and they're tricky guys. And so that somehow the purpose of that is so that when you're drinking the water and for drinking purposes only, we are drinking through the ceramic cartridge. For washing and bathing and flushing and so on, the other filter cartridges are fine. One is a 5 micron, the other one could be as much as a 10 micron, it doesn't matter. The idea of this process is to give you safe drinking water bacteriologically. We are at the same time using charcoal media, which is protection, gives you protection against chemical infiltration of many different types. You know? So I like the idea, the setup that we went for was a good idea. Spun, wound filter. Then the activated charcoal, which is a 5,000-gallon filter. And that I would suppose be spent in a month to 2 months of common usual water usage per house. And then the ceramic, like I said.
Ceramic is a long life.
Ceramic is a long life because you're only using it for drinking water, and it can be cleaned. If you could take that ceramic cartridge out and clean it with a soft brush, disinfect it with a little Clorox, and then put it back in again, close it up, and then you have it again for another long period. That's the idea. The maintenance program works like this. The homeowner should be responsible for changing the cartridges, which we'll check out how that's done. It's very easy. You have to shut the water off coming into the filter, and then I like to open up a tap somewhere in the house to relieve the pressure. Generally, that would be the driest approach to doing that.
Okay.
Change that cartridge as needed. When you look at that spun wound cartridge and you see it clogging up, some homeowners have already had it down the line. You're up the line. But down the line, they have dirtier water, or at least the condition is worsened because there's more accumulations down the line. The further out you go, the more accumulations you end up having. And so some of the cartridges down there have to be done more often than a guy like you, which is right up line and close to the reservoir itself. And so everyone has to be responsible for when to go. And the time to go and change it is when they look at it and they see that cartridge. One, the cartridge physically is clogged, and you can see it. Or two, it just it's not suitable to you. You see that it's loaded up, and it's just time to change it. You know. At the same time, change the charcoal filter, because we could gauge ourselves that if that one, the spun wound filter is ready to be changed, so is the charcoal. Okay. At the same time, change both filters. And at the same time, when you're visiting your filter bank, you have to do the manual cleanup on the sleeve, which is what I showed you earlier, and I'll show you again. And the purpose of that is to, where there are accumulations on the sleeve of minerals, especially where in a case where the home isn't being used regularly or consistently, and minerals will just stay there and sit on the sleeve, preventing the bulb from penetrating, the light from the bulb penetrating into the mineral. Okay? So you try to keep that. It's a very easy thing to do, push-pull, manual, wiper on, Teflon rings inside. And basically that's what the situation is. And I said you're experimental. You are experimental. Rick Moran, who's running the EPA in this area, it's his baby. He's been making a presentation to the government, to the EPA, for them to see and acknowledge that small water districts can't handle themselves, and so that they then could be in compliance. Now that's what we did here. They set you up as an experimental situation. Some of you people went for new wells. Some of you did this filtration purification approach. However, I would assume the EPA will have the right to come in to examine the progress and handpick a new well, test that, and test one of the purification systems homes. So, as I said, it's experimental. This is not something that has been approved of by the EPA. That it is approved of only, from my knowledge, only for the purposes of this experiment. They had the green light to go in and do this. You're lucky enough to do that. Otherwise, smaller situations with 25 homes in them will have to have water plant operators conducting chemical cleanups and maintenance and monitoring, and all of that's expensive and really not necessary. The homeowner takes their responsibilities.
It seems as if we succeed in maintaining our water quality, we can keep that door open for other communities.
You are. You're definitely opening up for, there's an experiment now going on in Puerto Rico that I know of, and similar type of situation. See, the problem is that the government, the EPA, have on their books, who knows how many non-compliant water districts. And this process could bring them into compliance. And so it's good for them, it's good for you, and that's the whole purpose of it. So you are an experimental situation. And I think it's going to work out fine.
Great.
Take a look at the system very well. Come on. You stay here. What to do is we're going to shut the water off to the filter right here, and I'm going to open up the line. Excuse me. Open up the line and let the water run out, just breaking the pressure away. And you can hear it when it stops.
Okay. That's main water into the house. You've killed everything.
Main water. I just cut the water line right in front of the filter.
Okay, and you're only draining it from one source then?
Right, exactly. Just one source to break the pressure.
Okay.
Then you take a tool. This is a large oil filter wrench. I gave everyone a filter handle.
Right here.
Oh yeah. And I don't love them. I'm not even sure they work, but that's what came with the thing. they're limited in their reach.
Okay.
These ones work better because they could grab it and turn it, okay?
Okay.
You are going to get some water out of here, so you carry a bucket to it and screw it off. That's the water that's just in the line that's between us.
Okay.
While that's happening, I can put this one back in. Okay, and we can actually go back on that. You don't have to wait it out any longer than that. Okay. And finger tight, hand tight, you don't want to put it on too tight because then it'll be hard for you to take it off again. Okay? Same thing for this guy here. Spun wound filter, the first filter. And that's time to change it.
Hold it up there a minute. Yeah. That's time to change, huh?
Definitely time to change.
Was it time to change it a month or 2 or 3 ago?
I would say so. I would say that you extended its life a little bit too long. It's blocking your water flow. It's collecting things.
Yeah, I have noticed a slight drop in pressure over the last month or so. Yeah.
Definitely. Now, when you're doing this, I would like to see you take a little Clorox, put some Clorox in here, and then put the filter in. You should do that each and every time you do that. Take a little bleach, yeah? Thanks.
One of the great things about sitting on top of your washing machine, yeah.
Right. Just a little Clorox in there to disinfect and put the whole thing back together again. And screw it up.
Okay, so you just poured a little Clorox into the thing. You don't need to do anything more than that. The water itself will circulate it.
Right, and what's going to happen is by putting Clorox into the first one, you'll then go through, the Clorox will then work in the second one and through the lines.
Okay.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave that line open, and I'm going to open this up nice and slow, and watch for it that it doesn't start leaking. It can very easily start leaking here. Shut the pressure off. It's good to have a towel handy. It'll protect you, and you have your tool.
Okay.
These two guys are on pretty good. I didn't put them on too tight at all.
Right, that was hand tight.
Okay, now I'm going to go and shut that water line out, shut it off again. The air is being pushed ahead of it, that's what you're hearing. That is on the way. Okay? And the next thing, that's how easy it is. And the next thing you want to do, open up your water line completely. That system is on. And don't forget the maintenance on your ultraviolet water purifier.
Okay.
Push pull a couple of times. You can feel by the tightness of it that it needs to be done. When you do it, just get it a couple of times, and then you feel that it's working freely, then you know it's okay.
Okay.
And then just put the clamp back on it.
Okay, how frequently should we think about?
Every time you come here to change that cartridge, you should be doing that. If you could do that more often, it's better.
Okay.
As often as you can get around to it, once every 2 or 3 weeks, it's good to wipe that sleeve off.
Okay.
It's like cleaning your glasses. The ultraviolet bulb is inside a sleeve, and it works by penetrating through the water. If the sleeve gets loaded up with minerals, just like your filter did, then it's not going to do the disinfection. You're not going to be disinfecting.
Right.
These cartridges will spend.
Yeah.
You know. So,
okay. What should we?
It
It's great. What should we expect the normal lifespan of these cartridges to be? And I realize it'll vary from one place on the line to the other, but
right, it does vary. I would like to say every month these filters could be changed. The spun wound filter should be changed once a month. you have already had down the line blockage because they waited too long, 2 or 3 months. Change it once a month. If you don't get to it once a month, then try to stick with as close to a once a month process as you can. When you change that, you should change the activated charcoal filter.
Okay.
So, once a month, once every, push it a little bit to the second month maybe, but not beyond that.
Okay, it's pretty much a question of usage too. If you're using it less,
Very much.
you can think about
Right.
changing them less frequently.
Right, and whenever you change it, don't forget that little Clorox in there, in that first one, in the spun wound filter,
Okay.
That's the routine. It's easy.